It's this pesky feeling of intellectual fraudulence that's where the name imposter syndrome comes from. And the irony of it is that it only impacts people with the evidence, with the credentials, with the talent, with the success. So unfortunately, the people who are, not capable or not doing the work or not creditable yet, they don't get imposter syndrome. Unfortunately, it's reserved for those of us that do belong, that have earned the right. And that's what makes it so interesting, and it's also very common. And that's what I say to myself. I say, enjoy it, because let's have fun.
Yes.
Let's enjoy the moment and internalize our success. And because imposter syndrome in particular will rob you from internalizing your success. It makes you deflect away, all of the good. So, you deflect rather than accept. I say, when you can say, I've got what I need now, enjoy it. Be present, insert whatever language is authentic to you, that will help center you, and it will refocus you. And that's important, because that helps, to the other part of your question, dissipate those butterflies or those anxious feelings. I encourage you all that start to control this story, start to understand your fears and doubts and imposter syndrome, because once you understand them, you can capture control of them. Once you control them, you can redirect them into behavior and language that serves you, not sabotages you. And underneath all of that, you're going to be able to anchor yourself in this own sense of, I belong here. I might be the only one who looks like me or sounds like me, or I might be the first or the 100th person to do this. However, I've earned the right to do it. I do belong here, and that's where we want to get. And that takes work and time.
Hey friend, I just wanted to thank you so much for stopping by and tuning into the podcast. It means the world to me. There are a lot of great podcasts out there, so it's truly an honor that you've decided to take the time out of your day to listen to mine. I'm really excited to bring on more and more inspirational guests for you. But before we get into it, I wanted to ask you a huge favor. If you're enjoying the show, would you please be so kind as to hit that subscribe button? I've noticed that over 98% of the people that watch our videos aren't subscribed, and subscribing really helps the algorithm put this episode in front of other people who it could help. And be sure to leave a comment sharing what most connects with you. So much love. Alison Shamir, welcome, my love, to the Let It Be Easy podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. So thank you. And good morning from Sydney. Actually, good afternoon to you.
My friends, Alison is up at 6 a.m. after another call with America. In Sydney, it is early. This is what commitment looks like. And I have to say, congrats, huge congrats on Conquer Your Imposter. Wow. I know you've been working on this for such a long time. And I'm excited to dive into this topic because I've got a lot of questions about it. I know my community does. I know our listeners do. And I think that your personal story, Alison, is going to be weaved in. I wanted to kick off with that initially, but then I thought, let's just dive into what imposter syndrome is, according to the dictionary, perhaps, and then what it is according to you. How do you feel about that? Kicking off there.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a huge topic. So, as I said, I think it's a perfect place to start. And, what imposter syndrome is when you believe. So let me give you the way that I speak to people about it from an experience point of view, and it certainly leaks into the definition as well. But imposter syndrome is when you, the individual, believe that you're not as intelligent, capable, competent, or talented as other people perceive you to be, despite though, and this is the kicker, despite clear evidence of your ability, and your success. So when we have imposter syndrome, we feel like we're some kind of imposter or fraud in our own lives and careers. And we feel it's only a matter of time before someone taps us on the shoulder and says, I'm sorry, Susie, you don't belong here. You shouldn't be doing the podcast. You shouldn't be in the room. You shouldn't be coaching. You shouldn't be launching the business. you don't belong here, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough. And so it's this pesky feeling of intellectual fraudulence that's where the name imposter syndrome comes from.
Mhm.
And the irony of it is that it only impacts people with the evidence, with the credentials, with the talent, with the success. So unfortunately, the people who are, not capable or not doing the work or not creditable yet, they don't get imposter syndrome. Unfortunately, it's reserved for those of us that do belong, that have earned the right. And that's what makes it so interesting,
Mhm.
and it's also very common.
Mhm.
And so that's, essentially what it is by definition. And for me, to the other part of your question, it
Mhm.
very much showed up like that. I spent, and I know we have a little bit of a crossover in similarity there, Susie. My
Mhm.
previous life, I worked in technology
Mhm.
for a long time. And similar to you, I worked on the commercial or the sales side, which was
Mhm.
super exciting. And
Mhm.
I learned a lot of life skills from that. But for a huge part of that career in my previous life, before
Mhm.
2019, I experienced imposter syndrome. And how
Mhm.
it showed up for me was constantly believing like I didn't belong in the room, constantly thinking like it was only a matter of time before my boss called me and said, I'm sorry, Alison, you shouldn't be leading the team. We gave the person, we gave the wrong person the job and this sort of thing. So I felt like I was fooling everyone. I felt like, I didn't belong in the room. And that's how it very much manifested for me for a large period of time as well.
When it comes to even hearing you share this story, I can't help but think that I can't say 100% of people, but a lot of high achieving women, especially, feel this way a lot in leadership positions, even in new positions. Maybe they're speaking somewhere, maybe they're launching something. And even though imposter syndrome, we've heard about it, we know about it, there are talks on it, etc., etc. I still think that just the awareness of it isn't enough. Like, it's not like, oh, well, yeah, you feel like a fraud, so does everybody else, but it's not true. Let's move on. It's not as simple as going, oh, yeah, awareness is the first step. What are the other steps? I mean, if you're like, okay, I don't feel quite ready, I'm shaking, although I know I can do this, there is evidence that, it's possible for me, but I still feel nervous and I just I can't relax. What do we do from there? Like, because I've heard this many times. I've even felt it myself in the same
Mm.
exact situation. Like, I'm doing something and I'm doing it again, like the same exact thing, maybe in front of a different group. It still comes up. What, like, awareness step one, great, fine, but it's not enough. Where to from there?
Yeah, great. Look, great question. And you're right, it's very prevalent. Okay.
Hmm.
And I make this joke that when
Hmm.
people say, well, how big is imposter syndrome? And I say, well, it's my full time job.
Yeah.
Has been
Yeah.
for 6 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
say that, in jest, like, but it is true. And it's very nuanced, but it's very prevalent. But often a lot of us suffer in silence. And to your point, we just need to continue to talk about it more and more, not because
Hmm.
we can share our way out of imposter syndrome, but as you and probably most of the listeners know, when we speak about something, we begin to strip away its power. We
Hmm.
bring it into that conscious reality. It's not just sort
Hmm.
of living in our head or, subconsciously or unconsciously just moving us around without, us intercepting it and really taking control of it. And to
Hmm.
the other part of your question, it shows up in many different ways. And
Hmm.
I think as a caveat, I'll say that imposter syndrome is very prevalent. It impacts the majority of us, not everyone, but global statistics still sit around the 70% of individual mark. Certain
Hmm.
industries, to your early can slide slightly up or slightly down based on industry pressures, competition, and you mentioned, high performing or high achieving women. We know, if it's women listening to this podcast right now that women, men, or gender diverse individuals, we just face different paths. We've had different experiences, different cultural upbringings. And yes, of course, there are things that cross over that we're similar on, but there's often this nuance on certain paths as well. And that's why it and show up, can and often does show up differently for women versus men. And now, of course, we're looking at gender diverse individuals as well. So it's prevalent. It shows up in different ways. I like to say, and it's not a
Hmm.
one size fits all experience. So
Hmm.
my relationship with imposter syndrome. Oh, we've got some.
Zoom agrees. The balloons just came up. Zoom agrees. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. I love
Yeah.
that. So how I experienced it isn't the same as, someone listening to this there might be some
Mm,
similarities.
mhm,
But firstly, know you're unique, you're
mm,
amazing, you have
mm,
your authentic strengths, and then the nerves part. So I also want to say that even if we are experiencing imposter syndrome, and I know you know this, Susie, and we understand and we've got the awareness, that's a wonderful thing because then we can turn it into an imposter moment versus
mm,
imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon. So, to your point, we're doing something big, we're about to speak or launch a business or do our podcast or take on a coaching client, and we've got that nerves and we've got that, oh, look, it's new and this sort of thing, which is very normal. But we can make sure that that story in our head doesn't turn to that imposter led story, which is, I don't belong. I am not worthy to do this. Who am I to be doing this work or to be speaking on this podcast? So, the
mm,
story we tell ourselves with imposter syndrome, and I know you'll know this from the book, Susie, is
mm,
it gets really personal and really nasty. So it
mm,
becomes the very I base, like, I am not enough. I do not belong. Who am
mm,
I to be doing this podcast? So
mm,
pay attention to the story that you tell yourself. Awareness is the first thing, which of course you nailed. And the second part is we've got to intercept that story and we've got to make sure that we are affirming ourselves, and it starts with belonging and worth. And as much as I'm obsessed with confidence, like you, Susie, this notion of self-worth, and I
mhm,
is so important, as you know, because it's
mhm,
really that anchor, alongside the other sense of selves, and that's
mhm,
sort of echoes strongly in the book and my work as well. And I have that great quote from
mhm,
Jamie Kern Lima in the book,
mhm,
which was from your podcast, Susie, which was from your
mm,
chat with Jamie here. So I was
mhm,
listening to it in the car and I was
mhm,
like, what an amazing conversation. And I took that quote, obviously credited to her, of course,
mhm.
but from your wonderful chat. So self-worth is something we need to look at with imposter syndrome as well.
When it comes to worth and belonging, I think okay, I'm just picturing in my mind now, actually someone in my community, she's wonderful, right? And this is what kills me sometimes, Alison, because the most wonderful people are the most set back by this, I swear. And okay, I also want to remind me to bring up the opposite of that too in a moment. But she's so wonderful, so capable, and is perhaps the most self doubting. And so it's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And whenever we connect, she's like raring to go. But then the story reappears, reemerges, and then it's paralysis, paralysis,
Yeah.
paralysis. And I feel like we almost have like these motivational talks that are good in the moment, but they're not lasting. So, in between podcasts like this, or even between reading books or listening to anything on YouTube, however you consume material, what do you do day to day? Because sometimes in a moment, life can throw something at you. It can be like, hey, it's your turn to ask a question, or in the group, hey, can you lead this thing? Or
Mm.
really any life situation that can come your way. What do you do in that moment when there isn't a resource? You don't have a coach next to you. You've got no support. How do you bring yourself to your center and the truth of who you are?
Yeah. What a great question. And I believe it's because we need to take time, and it's not easy because, as you know, turning the mirror on ourselves is
Mm,
one of the hardest things we can do, right? That's why a lot of
mhm,
us shy away from it. And what do I
mhm,
mean by that? I mean, we have to spend time learning who we are as a
mm,
person, as an individual, away from what we do. Because,
mm,
as you know, what we do, our careers, our skills, our contributions, they make up part of who we are. They make up part of our identity, and
mhm,
they're active, and our identity is always evolving, and this sort of thing, which I want everyone to know as well. We can feel
mhm,
that identity is static. I just am who I am now and I do these things. And I'm like, no, you are always evolving. You are evolving with each year, with each decade, with each stage, and these sorts of things. But back to your question, I encourage that individual and all of us, and I do this as well, is you have to know who you are as an individual and what you're about. So when you're by yourself between the works or between the consuming the content or between sessions with mentors and amazing coaches, you need to be comfortable in your own presence. You need
mm,
to know who you are, your authentic strengths, what makes you, the value that you see within yourself. And because that's how we become comfortable in our own space. And
mm,
it takes work, but as you know, Susie, and I mean with you and I, we just use ourselves as a case study at the moment. If
mhm,
we took away our work, the podcast, the work, the speaking, the clients, everything that we do. And we were just sitting down as, Susie and Ali, or we're
Mhm.
having a coffee, and we said, tell me about yourself, or who are you? We would be able to say who we are and what we're about. And in fact, you do a
Mm,
brilliant job of showcasing your authentic self in all the work that you do. So the lesson here is we must know who our authentic self is. When we're sitting
mm,
by ourselves in the quiet space, having a cup of tea or coffee, we need to know what we're about, what our values are, what anchors us, and then we can get to what we do, because it's
mm,
that self-worth and anchoring in authentic self that should feed the story and that should bring balance, not what you do. What you do
mm.
is the cherry on top. It shouldn't be the whole sundae, you know?
Yes, I a couple of things have helped me with this over the years, especially like right before something that seems significant to me, which is going to be different for everybody because we have different goals. If I'm feeling anxious, say that imposter rears up, I'll literally like take one breath and go something along the lines of, because my imposter would say something like, you know a bit, but not enough.
Mhm, yeah,
Like, you know a bit.
yeah,
Like, truly, I mean, because there are always people who know more than you, more about technology, more about
absolutely.
neuroscience. I mean, there are people who know all the things in different areas, but no one knows everything. So I'll go like literally like an interrupt, stop, breathe, and go, I know enough. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm the pro. It's just like, uh, the voice is, I only know a little bit. I've only got like a little bit to share versus saying, actually, you know enough. And it's not an accident that you're there. I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't pluck you off the street and go, hey, do you want to come renovate my house? I mean, I wouldn't just choose you randomly because you look like someone who knows how to build a house. Like it would be, there'd be a reason that you're there in the first place. Like I find that very grounding. Like it's not like, hey, do you want to fix my teeth because you look like a dentist? It's like, what you go to a special, like there's a reason someone matches you. And there's also, I believe, a divine order to that. So I also have to take it out of my hands and also just surrender to the place, the place where I find myself, knowing too that that's just not all me. It's not just all up to me and my own strength.
yes, which I echo all of that and
Hmm.
completely agree, and I love the part you're right around starting. I'll just start with that for a moment around, it's not an accident that I'm
Hmm.
here, or that I was chosen, or that I have this opportunity, or that, again, to you, and I agree with you, you're preaching to the converted here about that divine intervention and energy. And if
Hmm.
I can share a quick story, Susie,
Yes.
I met you, or was introduced to your work in
Hmm.
back in 2019. For everyone listening to this, Susie has been one of my coaches, and I'm tremendously grateful for you and your work. And I truly believe that at the time when I was searching for the right coach and work or your advertisements at the time
Hmm.
literally came to me one night. It was like late evening in Sydney, and I'm online.
Hmm.
And I was like, this is it. This is the woman. So I truly believe, that yes, things come to you at the right time, but there is no accident. To those listening, you didn't accidentally end up in the room. You haven't accidentally been invited to, use your voice or present,
Hmm.
or, the coaching client hasn't come through to you because, they just accidentally found your stuff online, or it's come to
Hmm.
them for a particular reason, or they're searching for a particular level of knowledge and expertise. And so I agree, if we lead with that language, that this opportunity, you are deserving of this
Hmm.
moment, this opportunity. And I love that I know enough. I've got what I need to get through this moment. And if we can anchor ourselves in this moment, because you're right, none of us have all of the answers. And fear, doubt, as you know, or imposter syndrome wants to keep us dwelling in the past and spinning our wheels there, or wants to
Hmm.
keep us anticipating or getting or driving anxious feelings of the future. The power
Hmm.
is in the present. And I know I'm preaching
Hmm.
back to the converted.
Oh, yes.
It really is. That's why I love it. It's like, I know enough for this. I am
Hmm.
here to do this job today, or speak on this podcast right now, or lead, a client or a discussion on X factor today. And if we
Hmm.
can anchor ourselves to that, that will go a long way. And then, as you know, we will then deliver on what we need to, which builds confidence, because we must take
Hmm.
action to build confidence. All of us, when we want to go to yoga or Pilates and we think about it, that's not going to get us confidence in doing it. But when we get our bums into the
Hmm.
Pilates or yoga studio, we're like, oh, okay, I did pretty good there first time around. In
Hmm.
comes the confidence, right? So I think a lot of us
Hmm.
can relate to that example. So I agree with what you've said. And for me as well, although I have a handle on my imposter syndrome, I still have these moments, sometimes they're significant, of fear
Mhm.
and doubt, where I have to intercept myself as well and say,
Mm.
hang on a moment, I'm about to walk on this big stage, or I'm about to complete this part of my book or speak to this
Mhm.
person. And I've earned this opportunity. I know what I now need to deliver, and I'm going to be very present and enjoy the moment. And something I learned from you, Susie, and have taken in is one of the last things I say to myself to anchor myself, and I
Mhm.
said it right before I jumped on this call with you, is
Mm.
I say to myself, enjoy it. I
Yeah.
say enjoy. I love the word joy, and obviously that, but I say enjoy it, because if
Mm.
I am enjoying, I am present, because I have to be present to take in and enjoy and really embrace that emotion and feeling. And that's what I say to myself. I say, enjoy it, because let's have fun too.
Yes.
Let's enjoy the moment and internalize our success. And because imposter syndrome in particular will rob you from internalizing your success. It makes you deflect away, all of the good. So
Mhm.
you deflect rather than accept. I say,
Mhm.
when you can say, I've got what I need now, enjoy it, be present, insert whatever language is authentic to you, that will help center you, and it will
Mm.
sort of refocus you. And that's
Mm.
important, because that helps, to the other part of your question, dissipate those butterflies or those anxious feelings, because they're
Mm.
taking you forward or they're taking you back. If you can
Mhm.
fight them and be present, you will turn those extreme nerves into just some wonderful butterflies in your belly. And if you're doing awesome stuff, here's a sort of hot take, is you're always going to have butterflies.
Yes, I agree. I
You're
agree. I
always
think to
gonna have
myself,
butterflies. Like, I had them. I've known you and obviously followed your work, and you've been a coach to me for years, Susie. And I still had butterflies before I hit connect on this podcast, because I was excited
mm,
and I'm really honored to be. And of course I have butterflies, and it's nerves, and it's fun, and and
mhm,
and we have butterflies, embrace it. And I heard a great quote, if I can share one thing quickly, from
mhm,
a neuroscientist recently, Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett.
mhm,
She's a
mhm.
wonderful you know her in the US,
Yeah.
and she
Mhm.
was telling, I'm paraphrasing here, but she was telling a story about her daughter who does martial arts, does karate, and her daughter had butterflies one day, and her karate instructor, or her sensei, said to her daughter, "Get your butterflies in formation." So, and I
Mm.
heard this on a podcast, and I thought, how wonderful. It's not get rid of the butterflies. It's not you shouldn't have them. It's get them in formation, meaning let's just channel it for some good and for some excitement. And that really stood out to me anyway, which is why I wanted to share it now.
I love it because I know this has been me before. It still is me sometimes during busy periods. And I think it's a tragedy to live this way, to just try and get through the day, to get through the meetings, to get through the big stuff. Because especially if you have a big, full life, right? There is a lot that you are going to have to get through, right? It's okay, so this new thing, and then that new thing, and then, oh, this new meeting. And you'll go through your day, your week, your month, your year, your entire life, just waiting for the moment where you can relax, or waiting for the moment when when the joy comes in. When
Yep.
you're like, okay, now I'm here. All is well now. I've done the things. Check, check, check. Today is the day where I can take my seat. It's like, no, you'll be 94. Like, and still then, I mean, unless you handle this, or at least have an understanding, because when you said enjoy it, I was like, yes, that is it. Number one, you have to do it, right? I always say only action cures fear. Like you just gotta like do it, do it, do it. And then you kind of relax once you've begun in anything, right? But then to feel like you're just constantly pushing through, like, okay, what time is it? Okay, now I can then I can take a drink and relax, or then I can go for a walk and relax. I can just go home and take my bra off and relax. It's like, well, then aren't you missing your life? Aren't you actually and missing all these experiences that are made for you, and that are mystical, and that are really perfect, because you're just like white knuckling, like, got to be as perfect as I can be. Oh, that one mistake I made, I'm going to just like kill myself for 2 hours later. We
Yep.
miss our lives, Alison. To me, this is the biggest thing that could just make me weep.
Yeah. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. And then that's right. There is no joy, or there is no happiness, or again, use the word that is authentic to
Mhm.
yourselves. But that is so important, and carving out moments again to be present, and to your point, to take that in. And
Mhm.
even if you are busy and you are a high performer, just carving out 10 minutes in your day, small moments, big impact, to
Mhm.
actually center yourself, and to your point, and to take it in, and to give. And also, from a scientific point of view, we must acknowledge that to ourselves and our brains. Because if we
Mm.
just stay in autopilot, even if we are, end quote, achieving, right, we'll just keep our brain in that motion of just the next, the next, the next, the next. And to your point, 3 months later, we'll be like, "Oh, gosh, what happened to what happened to summer? It's like October, and what the
Mhm.
hell just happened for 4 months, right?" We don't want to be in that space, because we're missing life, and life is precious. And sure, we can create big moments of joy, but incremental shifts, especially when you are busy. Sorry, those incremental moments, I beg your pardon,
Mhm.
are just so important. Whether that's, going and getting your nails done, whether it's 10 minutes to have a cup of tea or
Mhm.
coffee in peace, or to set yourself up for the day, or to get sunshine on your face for 10 minutes in the middle of the day or between your meetings. These will make a profound difference to
Mhm.
anchoring you and resetting, because you're right, otherwise we miss so much. And we know from all of the work and literature out there, and Susie, I'm sure you've spoken to a million people who do this, is they will get, if they do that and they get in that autopilot, a lot of them have regrets. A lot of
Mhm.
them say, if I could change something, Susie, I wish that I could go back and have spent more time taking it in, or more time with my
Mhm.
kids or family, or
Mhm.
and that's often the thing that we regret. This, what we're talking about right now, is
Mhm.
often the regret we hold if we don't do it. Because why? No amount of money or success can allow us to turn the clock back.
Mhm.
Nothing can buy that, right? No matter how, whatever success means to us, or if we have a financial target, the one thing none of us can do is
Mhm.
turn the clock back. Yes, there's some biohacking, but
Yeah.
that's a story. But you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
time is precious. Yes, you don't have to, but these things will make a difference. And
Mm.
because life is meant to be lived, and
Mhm.
I thought I was strong in that too, Susie, but obviously following your work for the last 6 years, and the in Let It Be Easy, but the joy in living your life, and
Mhm.
is super important. And when we're doing those things as well, it is combating things like imposter syndrome, which wants to keep us just ongoing working, wants to, it's not enough, I need more, I need more. When you can send to yourself and say, hang on, I am enough, where I'm at right now is enough. Sure, I can always acquire new knowledge if I want to. These
Mhm.
things are going to push back on imposter
Mhm.
syndrome. So obviously it's important for that as well.
There are 3 things that come to mind actually as you've been speaking. I love celebrity stuff, like the gossips, all of it, the salacious cheer. I love it, right? I love it. And it's not a guilty pleasure, it's a very happy pleasure that I love to indulge in. And there are a couple of things that I paid attention to that I think are very pertinent to this conversation. The first is often I see celebrities go back through looks that they've like what I wore on the red carpet, what I wore at the VMAs, and almost always they say, I wish I was enjoyed that more. I was so nervous. Like that was my first movie, or that was the first time I was nominated, or, Johnny Depp was in the room, and they're regretting their lack of presence in
Yes.
that experience. Secondly, I read this interview in Harper's with an anonymous celebrity astrologer, and he or she, don't know who it was, said that almost every celebrity that they see says, "Is this good luck? Like, is it just lucky that I'm in these big movies?"
Yeah.
Like they're all, and I'm like, everybody's asking if it's just lucky. Like, is it the stars? Like, what is it? No one can let it in. And then thirdly, I forgot what the third point was. This is how the celebrities take me off course. It'll come back to me as we speak. But but I think to myself, oh yes, this is it. I'm convinced. You know how Alison people say, "Oh, those were the good old days," like you and your corporate job, or you when you first started dating your wife, or
Yeah.
you when you first moved to Sydney, whatever. We say the good old days a lot with nostalgia because, with hindsight, we don't feel the anxiety we had then. We see it actually as it was. And so you like you said, you can't reverse it. You can't go, oh, just rewind 10 years. Let me just go
Mm.
back and go, everything's gonna be okay. It's like go back to the award show, go back to the astrologer and go, tell me something real apart from the fact that I'm just not lucky. So all these things are coming up, and it's just almost mind-boggling, isn't it? How we like letting it be easy is so difficult sometimes. Like letting yourself really be in it and understanding that it's meant to be
Yeah.
exactly as it is, and that God doesn't make mistakes in the way that our ego will have us believe.
I couldn't agree more. And also, as human beings, right, and we're amazing, at
Mhm.
the apex, at the top
Yeah.
of the and that sort of
Yes.
thing. But I think we can all agree that we overcomplicate things. The
Mhm.
world is very busy. It's getting busy, and you're right. And if we are celebrities and living in that world, which is its own space, right? And
Mhm.
I'll come back to the luck thing in a second because
Yeah,
that's
yes.
a really good point, especially
Yeah.
for high performing and what you said before about high performing women and that sort of thing. But we live in a very busy world. It's getting even busier in technology and this and that and content and can be always on and you can be everywhere and that sort of thing. But as human beings, we are not designed for that and certainly not designed for it all the time. Okay. And so what I mean by that is we overcomplicate things. And so that's why I love obviously your method of let it be easy, but let it be easy takes conscious work.
Mhm.
But once we focus on it, of course, then in quote, it becomes easier, but it is so powerful because we must give ourselves those breaks. We must, allow ourselves to come back to center because we overcomplicate it. Doing too much all the time is not what we were designed for. And especially if we're
Mhm.
doing too much of, in quote, the wrong thing or
Mhm.
something that's zapping us. So, one of the biggest high performance tools that I use with my clients, I recommend is that high performers know how to do less better, and they
Mm.
know how to bake in that it's not yes, there are times when we are frantically busy and we are juggling, I beg your pardon, like a million things. It happens, but they are the exceptions. They're not meant to be the norm because
Mhm.
that's not where high performance comes from. And you can look at this as, even actors and that sort of thing, they'll spend, just talking about Hollywood for a moment, they'll
Mhm.
spend months and months and months getting ready for a role. They might spend 6, 10, 12 months filming a role and then they'll have a little break. Okay, sometimes they'll go
Mhm.
straight into another one, but they do bake in time because they have to switch, right? You
Mhm.
have to be able to decompress.
Mhm.
So, one of the biggest skills we can learn is let it be easy. Don't overcomplicate it, right? Come back to
Mm.
the essence of who we are, tap into that nostalgia of the past and go, okay, I can't turn the clock back, but how can I bring some of that into my life today? And how
Mm.
can I run that intercept? And actually, you taught me this again, Susie. You probably don't remember, it was years ago. And I can't remember in what forum you said it in, but you were talking about, remember how when we have expensive glasses or things and we don't use them or we wait for
Yes,
special occasions?
yes,
So this is
yes.
something you said. So, and
Mhm.
and hearing this, so, I bring out the good glasses. Sometimes when I'm at home, eating on my own, I will drink my water or soda, out of I don't
The
drink soda.
most
I do.
expensive glass.
Out of a crystal glass, right? Because
Yeah.
why not? Because life is
Mm.
there to be lived. So again, bring the joy into the present moment. Don't
Mhm.
overcomplicate things. Learn how not to overcomplicate things. It is a
Mm.
skill. It can learn. You can learn. It does wonders for confidence. And let it be easy. Is that methodology is beautiful, and I say that
Mm.
powerful as well.
Mhm.
And I say that to myself. And on the Hollywood thing, just quickly, and the whole notion
Mhm.
of luck,
I
saying,
could
"Oh,
talk about Hollywood forever. This could be
I
a
to say, right? I'm
Yeah.
leaning in here. I'm like,
I
let's
know everything about everyone.
I'm like, "Tell me more, let's keep it rolling." And we talk about luck, or we talk about people go, "I just got lucky to be here," or "Look at the people I'm
Mm.
surrounded by," or the people who were in the mix as well. And I want you to know, and that's obviously a common thing with imposter syndrome as well. We're like, "I just got lucky to be here." It's not really my skill, my competence, the fact I went through the audition or did the work to launch the podcast or have worked for 6 months to launch the business or, insert whatever
Mhm.
action you're willing to take. None of it's luck. But the reason why a lot of us default to luck as well is the better you become at something, and if you're going up and up, or if you're just staying where you are, but you're a high performer, you are surrounded by awesome people. So
Mm.
it's very easy to then negatively compare ourselves or measure because it's not like you're sitting in a room with people who are not on your level. You're
Mhm.
always sitting in rooms or talking to people who are on your level or more often above you. And I mean that in a good way. People that
Mhm.
you might aspire to, or people who just have more tenure or experience in doing it. It doesn't make them better, but it just means they've got more tenure. So
Mm-mm.
in high performance, and in doing cool stuff, quite
Mhm.
frankly, we need to be comfortable in that. And again, that because that's we're not going to be the smartest person in the room very rarely, if
Mm.
ever. Occasionally we might be, and that's a great place to be. I personally don't
Mm.
want to be the smartest person in the room. I'm always
Mhm.
learning and growing. I know what I'm there to do. I know what I'm on the
Mm.
hook for, and that's all I need to think about, right? My job's not to be the smartest person in the room. It's just to do what I'm there to do or just
Mm.
enjoy the space that I've been invited into. Perhaps I'm just there to engage, and
Mm.
absorb. So
And that's
these
enough. And that's
that's enough.
enough.
That's enough. And these things are very
Mhm.
important, again, in terms of combating imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome wants to keep you out of those rooms and wants to tell you don't belong in this room, you're not worthy, don't take the opportunity, don't walk into the room, and then let's just say you do. Right. And
Mm.
you do manage, I beg your pardon, to take that courageous step. If imposter syndrome is still there, it will then tell you, oh, but you just got lucky to be here, or you now have to work like a crazy person to stay here. So you can see that either one of those ends of the spectrum is not serving you, it's
Mm.
sabotaging you. And to balance the spectrum, we need to come right down the middle and run an intercept with that story and
Mm.
sense of self and go, this isn't luck. Okay, I've earned the right to be here. And now that I am here, I want to present and perform as best I can. There's no such thing as perfection, but we want to enjoy the opportunity and not waste it. Just do the best we can. And this is the sort of language, we need to take ourselves on when it comes to overcoming imposter syndrome or even moments of self doubt, because
Mm.
we don't get anywhere by accident.
Yes.
If we could accidentally fall into those rooms or moments, there'd be a lot more competition for it, right? It's not
Yes.
it's not luck or chance, but it is energy, and it is the universe places us, in the right place at the right time, or it's sending us messages at different times. And that's why I'm absolutely follow your lead that, rejection,
Mhm.
can really hurt us, but rejection is redirection. It's
Mm.
just not a yes now. And the universe rewards tenacity. It rewards, focus and these sorts of things. It doesn't mean you have to be on 24/7, but
Mm.
it is an energy thing. And we
Mhm.
need to be in the right energy mix.
One thing that I've observed, Alison, is that I think that high performers in general go at a pretty fast pace too, right? So it's like this, okay, done, next, okay, next, 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 which is wonderful. It's forward motion, momentum. But I think with a lack of a pause or a break or those 10 minutes, that momentary just breath, we don't even register what we've done, right?
Yes.
It's just like, now what? And I'm not sure if you've watched the show. I've already watched the second season, the Dallas Cowboy. Do you have it in Australia? The
Yes. And I'm on
cheerleaders.
the second season and I'm
Uh, the,
obsessed with it.
you've watched the second season or you're
I
about
haven't
to?
even started. So I'm on episode
Okay.
1 for season 2.
Okay, so you already get it. I mean, there's nothing new here that there's no spoilers. But have you noticed how all the girls there, because I mean, they are athletes. I mean, they are,
Very
it is
impressive.
impressive. Like,
Yeah,
whoa, I didn't understand actually what went into being a cheerleader. I have a full respect. Wow.
me too.
And it's so interesting because some of these girls are so young, one's as young as 18, and it's almost like they're the best dancer in each town across America. And then they come together. And of course, they feel intimidated, especially if they're new, especially I think if they're younger. Actually, no, I don't think age has anything to do with it. They all feel intimidated by each other, but they're wildly supportive and it's gorgeous to watch. And I think to myself, what's the difference then between imposter syndrome, which can appear at any time, and then also just being new and learning? Because I've got to say, Alison, on the flip side, and I know we're going across the place here, but that's how I like it. I do see some people show up in different spaces who don't have any proven results and who maybe sell stuff or they're going at it really hard. And I'm like, I don't know why. Like, I think you need a bit more experience. It's almost like the inverse of imposter syndrome. I know we're talking about two things now, but every single cheerleader there deserves it. They don't believe it, but they do. You see their history, you see their stamina, you see their magic. And I just think, wow, like, so what's the difference between feeling, not being able to internalize that you belong there versus actually just being new and learning a new way of dancing and working with a team? And why do some people not have imposter syndrome when they frankly should?
Yeah.
Two things.
Oh, and so no, these are great. And I think, so if we look at the Dallas, we use that example as a moment because
Yes,
I'm getting so much out,
I bet for your
that
work.
show
Yeah.
as well, like
Hmm.
just and the commitment and the way that they stay true to the course, and they're phenomenal. So if you're not watching that
Yeah.
show,
Watch
highly,
it.
highly recommend. I feel like I need to, like, go to Dallas now. So I'm
I
basically
know.
honestly, I basically booked a flight
Yeah.
for Texas, so I'm coming on down probably before December,
We
Dallas.
won't see the game, we'll just see them
Yeah,
dance and then
yeah,
leave. Yeah,
exactly. So I digress, but I'm definitely going to Dallas.
yeah.
And to your point, I think you just actually nailed it in your language. It's that imposter syndrome, only shows up when we have the experience, we've faced what we're about to face again, or we've got the credentials and these sorts of things. So if we just look at the show for a moment as a
Mhm.
case study, if there's dancers turning up who are what they call the second year veteran, or they've done it before,
Yes.
they've been through the process, and they're still like, I don't belong in this room, that sort of thing. That's where we're seeing more of, if it is imposter syndrome, showing up, because
Yes.
again, they've got the evidence on the board, they've done it before, they've been through the process, whether they made it or not, and they're still discounting their right to be there. So
Mhm.
we might be crossing imposter territory, where that's about going, hang on, I have been here before, I've done the work, I've got these runs on the board. Now, how do I elevate that forward? Right? We've got to push
Mm.
back on that imposter story. Versus when you are new, and it is a first time, we also need, one of the biggest things we can do for ourselves, it sounds simple, but it's so powerful, is to remind ourselves of that. Is that story, is that
Mm.
I'm about to do this for the first time. Go me. Okay, here I go. I'm as ready as I can be for this first time. I'm jumping in. Like, acknowledgement of first, like first are first. We need to have a first. We don't jump, just straight to step 3 or whatever it is. Although some
Mm.
people, and I'll come back to the other half of your question, try
Yeah.
to do that, which is a good segue into that, right? But in
Mhm.
reality, when we're doing things properly, when we're doing them authentically, when we're doing them just ethically, that sort of thing, we're not doing that. So I think reminding ourselves, and it really is this, I know you're familiar with this terms of that beginner's mindset. So we hear a lot about fixed and growth mindset, and if a lot of there's lots of literature out there for those listening, but this notion of beginner's mindset, which is essentially be brave enough to suck at something new, or you might not
Mm.
suck at it, you might actually nail it, but be
Mm.
brave enough to face something new. And it is that reminder. So the difference is, don't be frightened to, in fact, embrace it. This is a piece of, my sort of expert opinion, is that remind yourself when you're entering something for the first time about how brave you are, about how
Mm.
confident you're, about the confidence you are showing simply to turn up and be ready to step into that arena, let alone the confidence you'll build when you do step in. That is really powerful. So back to, the sort of Dallas Cowboy example, is that the dancers that say, this is my first time, I've just trained a year specifically for this, like, I'm as ready as I'll ever be, they're not showing the imposter moments, right? But if they're
Mm.
standing, if the same person's doing that and going, "Oh, even though I've trained, even though it's my first time, even though, I'm stepping in the arena, I still don't belong here, still don't deserve it," that's where we're crossing into imposter territory. So
Mm.
own the fact, if it's something new or first time or relatively new, that's really amazing. You deserve the
Mm.
kudos for that, and the courage to turn up, and as Brené Brown was saying, stepping in the arena. We should be
Mm.
celebrating that,
So,
and then
yes.
it's
So,
a
for
key.
example, just say, and I don't wanna do this, but just say, like, "Alison, I wanna move to Hollywood, and I wanna be a screenwriter. I wanna write crime movies," right? And
Yeah,
I'm like, "Okay, so I feel like an imposter." I'm like, "Well, I am new. Like,
yep.
there's a lot to learn, but hey, I've got the courage to show up here and pitch myself as a screenwriter," right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
using that dialogue. So
Mm.
acknowledging that, going and doing that, chasing your dream or chasing your goal, and knowing
Mhm.
that you will continue to grow your experience
Mm.
as you go. And so
Mhm.
that's exactly right. And if
Mm.
you continue to grow
Mhm.
your experience, or you do follow that exact step and end up in Hollywood and you are doing the work, if the
Mhm.
language is still, I still don't belong here, I'm still not enough, we do need to stop and check ourselves with that language, because that story isn't serving you. If you
Mm.
tell yourself you don't belong or that you are not worthy, just to stay on those 2, because that's really sort of at the top of the pyramid with imposter syndrome, no amount of success will take that away. And even if an
Mm.
amazing director or producer comes to you and says, "We want that, screenplay. We want to talk to you, want you to come into this, this room as we workshop this." If that story is still in the driver's seat, it will rob you of that moment, right?
Mhm.
So it's
And
important,
others, and
and others,
others.
and others. So,
Yes. Mhm.
so the external validation is what we feel that we want, but we must validate from within. And I will sound like a broken record as I say that over and over, but it is the most important point, because at the end of the day, when you're in the room alone or you're at home making your cup of tea and getting ready for bed, what matters is the story you're telling yourself. And we must, be able to anchor from a worth and a belonging perspective, even
Mm,
when, and this is, I know when it can get challenging, even when we are entering rooms where people are telling us we don't belong. And I think
mm,
that's an important point, Susie, because I know probably most people who are listening to this have been in a room or a space or a situation or a work event where someone actually has said, you don't belong for whatever
mhm,
reason, or I don't want you here, or whatever
mm,
it may be. Unfortunately, I know a lot of us have been on the end of that. It is not nice. It is not right. It shouldn't be happening. But
mm,
unfortunately, it's the world that we live in sometimes, or often, depending on what sector we're working in. So again, back
mm,
to anchoring ourselves in our story, that is our foundation. And
mm,
I can't talk about that enough. And
mm,
then when we do that, then we're able to embrace our true confidence. So, what do
mm,
I mean by that? I mean displaying confidence in a way that is authentic to us, because a lot of women in particular, and this will dovetail into the second part of your question, are fearful of, okay, well, if I own this imposter story, this comes up for me a lot, as they say, I want to get through this, Alice. I want to own this story. I want to redirect it, and I want to present and perform as my most confident self. But I don't want people to think I'm arrogant.
yes.
And they're like, and I'm quite a humble person. I say, wonderful. Humility is a beautiful thing. You should embrace humility again in your own authentic way. We all display humility differently. It means
Mhm,
something different to us. And they say, but I don't want to go the other way. I don't
mm,
want to come across as arrogant. And that's when I say to them, and paraphrasing here again, but there's a difference between high confidence and arrogance. They're not the same,
mm.
they're not the same thing, but we need to manage that. And again, because often then they're around people like that second tier that you're talking to,
Yeah.
they're around these people who are not as competent and
Mm,
overly confident, right? So
yes.
they're the other
Mhm,
side of the spectrum where, sure,
mhm,
confidence is a good thing, but not if it crosses a line into BS,
mhm.
or fabricating or
Mhm,
lying. And look, there are ways,
mm,
and PR for yourself and being able to articulate your value and share a story is a good thing, but it should never cross the line into lying. You should
exactly.
never cross, like, if you are lying, if you are fabricating, I'm suggesting anyone listening to this, but I'm sure we all
Mm,
know someone who's doing
mhm.
that,
Or have
right?
been burned by
Yeah,
someone who's lied
they've
to
been burnt,
us.
or they're pushing, I don't know,
Mm,
logos or a story or a thing that
mm,
is just not true. We never wanna be that person. That is dangerous territory. That's something that they shouldn't be doing, but we wanna remain, ethical and credible and truth telling. But I encourage you all that start to control this story, start to understand your fears and doubts and imposter syndrome, because once you understand them, you can capture control of them. Once you control
mm,
them, you can redirect them into behavior and language that serves you, not sabotages you.
mm,
And
mhm,
underneath all of that, you're going to be able to anchor yourself in this own sense of, I belong here. I might be the only one who looks like me or sounds like me, or I might be the first or the 100th person to do this.
mm,
However, I've earned the right to do it. I do
mm,
belong here, and that's where we want to get. And that takes work and time. But
mhm,
when we remind ourselves of that, it is so powerful. And that's why, you know, I can't talk about the self-worth aspect enough.
uh-huh,
Also, and the other thing about control is you'll hear me say control a lot. I mean, because who doesn't love control of the
mhm,
it's like, that's what we
mhm,
want as much as we can. We can't control everything,
mhm.
but your self-worth is completely in your control.
No matter
It
what, no
no
matter
matter
what.
no matter what, and that's why I love
Mhm,
that quote, and I don't know who
mhm,
coined it, but, your self-worth is not a group decision. It's a
mhm,
quote along it's either that's exactly the quote or it's like that. I'm sure a lot of people have heard it, and, that is something I remind myself of often.
mm,
Even though I
mm,
have a strong sense of self-worth, if I'm ever feeling off center, if I'm ever
mhm,
feeling rattled, and it happens, I just think, hang on, I have a
mm,
conversation with myself just like you do. And that
mm.
dialogue with ourselves is so important.
I also think sometimes, Alison, if I'm nervous about something or if I feel slightly fraudulent, I imagine someone who I know really loves me is like going to be there or is beside me and seeing myself through their eyes, what they know to be true of me. And there has to be someone really solid in your life, not someone here
Yes.
or there. Because I think that it's also wonderful to talk to people intimately in your life if you can trust them, how you feel, what they tell you. You
Yep.
can get really lovely, honest feedback this way, not because you need validation from others, but it's also okay to, it's great to get support sometimes and to allow yourself to be held by others. I think only a very select few are worthy of that, maybe for each of us. But I think it's wonderful to allow other people sometimes to support us when we need it. Not always, and they're not always going to be available. But to me, that's been helpful. And one other thing I'd say about the confidence arrogance thing, I hear it a lot too, is you're in a really tiny percentage. I mean, it's an arrogance problem isn't a problem I hear a lot. It's definitely it's definitely people who are brilliant and hiding it versus someone who's maybe not so great and talking a story. I don't think anyone who worries about being arrogant. I think you're very low risk for arrogance. And so the people who we talk about, maybe we all know one or two who are out there, maybe not as prepared or not as competent as you said. Don't worry about it. The fact that we're even worrying about that shows that that's not who you are.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree? I mean, when it
Yes.
comes to people who are afraid of like standing out or maybe being bigger than they're allowed to be,
Yeah,
that's what comes up for me.
yep,
Mm.
couldn't agree more, and I also love, that you brought up the support aspect as
Mhm.
well, because you're right, the people who you, love or like or who you believe you're safe with, and I think you
Mhm.
said that, beautifully. I agree. It's very
Mm.
important, and we shouldn't go it alone. Even if
No.
we are independent and successful, so whether that person, as you said, is a direct spouse or a friend or someone close to you, regardless of who they are, if you feel safe
Mm.
with them and you can have those conversations, I wholeheartedly agree with that, and,
Mhm.
it's nice sometimes to have an empathetic ear, isn't it? I think we
Yes.
all relate. I think we can all relate, me, where sometimes you want some help with some solutions, and other times you just love an empathetic ear, someone to this,
Mm.
and I think that's just a really beautiful moment as well, because we all want to feel seen and heard, no matter whether we're
Mm.
someone who uses our voice a lot or someone who wants to learn to use our voice in whatever scenario. I think that was a really beautiful point. So,
Mm.
thank you for bringing that up. And then, yes, it's on the other side. That's right. The arrogance thing and the worry. It's often just a worry. It's often again just driven by fear, and embracing, anchoring in self-worth, yes, but then embracing our authentic confidence, and
Mm.
using our voice and turning up in ways that are authentic and meaningful to us,
Mhm.
is really where the magic happens, and, you're all unique and incredible how you are. We don't need to be anyone else. We just need to channel who we are and be able to showcase that to the world, and as I said, it's a very big world, and there's more than enough opportunity and pie for all of us, and all we need to do is think
Mm.
about the spaces that we wanna be in. And
Mm.
that's a really great way to also, not narrow for it's not narrowing, but just to sort of bring, the focus points, um, into line, and
Mhm.
that's gonna give us more joy as well, right? It's gonna create less overwhelm, and it's gonna keep us in our genius or zones of genius, whatever they are, and you can certainly have
Mhm.
more than one, but
Mhm.
you're gonna have some fun there as well.
Mm.
Back to, I think, what we said earlier is life is meant to be, lived as well, and I don't know, I'm getting older now, so perhaps I'm getting more reflective on that, but it's just I personally just don't, I don't live every day like, "Oh my goodness, it's gonna be my last," not that, but I do
Mhm.
understand that life is precious and
Mhm.
life is fragile. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, it's more fragile than we like to keep, and so we don't have to keep that front of mind again and live every day like it's our last, but it is there to be lived, and we only get one life, and as cliche as that sounds, but gosh, I just love that saying that we don't get to go it again. Well, not in this
Mhm.
life
Mhm.
anyway, this present
Mhm.
life that we know. So, those sorts of things put things in perspective for me, and I
Mhm.
encourage everyone watching this to find those things that put their world into perspective for them as well, because they're gonna help anchor you, as well as your own sort of affirmation of self as well.
This, my friend, is how we regret proof our lives, which is what we talk about all the time. Regret proofing our life, living it, being in it, not holding back, not feeling like shit for no reason, not punishing ourselves for no reason. I mean, Alison, to wrap here, what is life like when someone conquers their imposter, to use your book, or it conquers 50% or even 20% of their
Yeah.
imposter? How does your life change?
Yeah. Well, just knowing that you are in control creates
Mm.
a ripple of impact through an individual, because
Mhm.
as human beings, this is, all of us, we want to be able to control the controllables. It does center us, and it
Mhm.
does make us feel more accomplished or more happy in the moment. So to your question, if we conquer imposter syndrome entirely, meaning it doesn't show up anymore, we all still have fears and doubts. So I just want to be very clear here quickly that every human being on the planet experiences self-doubt. Every
Mhm.
human being on the planet has fears, and our doubts and fears can evolve as we evolve, right? We're
Mhm.
human beings. None of us are just 100% confident all the time, right? We have and
Mhm.
you and I have spoken openly about our experiences here as well. And the majority of us, as the stats say, will experience imposter syndrome. But getting a hold of that, getting control is going to make you feel more centered within yourself, and that you do belong and that you are worthy. And that is a profound feeling in an individual, because
Mm.
we are wired for belonging. We want to feel like we have meaning or that we are worth something. And so pulling back the controls and being able to push back on things like imposter syndrome will make you feel more centered, right? And then
Mm.
that's going to help you absorb your skills and attributes more, and go through life not just with success, but absorbing that success and getting the joy in other meaningful things. And then it's also going to help you with your mental health and your emotional health, because you're going to be able to control those any feelings of anxiousness. So you're going to be able to redirect those nerves or those butterflies into more of responding to things, not reacting to things. So
Mhm.
you're going to feel more centered overall and more in control. And our brains want certainty. A lot of you might
Oh.
already know that. We don't live in a world where we can have black and white all the time. But if
Mhm.
you've got a handle on things like imposter syndrome, you will create more certainty and clarity for yourself. And we know the impacts that that can have. But more importantly, you will know that you do belong, and that you are worthy, and that you have earned your right to be where you are or to give it a go where you are. And that has a profound domino effect on other aspects of your life, personally and professionally. Right, so
Mm.
those 2 sides of the coin. And so I encourage you that if you believe you're experiencing imposter syndrome, lean into that, understand it, the how and why it's showing up for you. And of course, my book will help you with that, but a lot of, your work as well, Susie, is the self-awareness. Okay, how
Mhm.
and why is it showing up for me? And what changes can I implement starting small to set me on a different course? Because small steps, big impact. And
Mhm.
you will not conquer imposter syndrome overnight. I want to be clear
Mhm.
on that. I say this in the book. It isn't a quick fix. If I could give you a quick fix, I'd be a gazillionaire. Susan, I'd be on a flight to Dallas, right?
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
but as you know, like anything, it's not a quick fix, but understanding it and utilizing the right tools. My clients, we've made profound impacts in a matter of weeks. So when you talk about what
Mm.
impact can it have, we can flick those first dominoes and start to feel the difference, see the difference, behave differently in a matter of weeks. Let
Mm.
alone then a couple of months, and then you're off and racing, for a better term. So like everything that you also talk about, it takes work, but there's
Oh.
beauty in the work, there's joy, there's lots of self-discovery, and know that this is not about being exempt from fear and doubt or things like imposter syndrome. It's about understanding it and taking control of it so it doesn't control you. And that's what I do in my work. And that's what the people around me have helped me do. And then you can elevate and step into your true confidence. So when I came into meeting you, Susie, and working through your programs, I had come through my imposter syndrome. There were still moments of self-doubt, and I
Mm.
really wanted to then understand myself better, grow this new aspect of my career, elevate my confidence, be around people that were in front of me, that were, that could teach me, and led me to you. And so there is so much good stuff. The final thing I'll say on the end of fear, doubt, imposter syndrome is growth, is new
Mm.
experiences, is relationships, collaboration, joy, insert whatever's important to you. That's on the other side.
A
And
full
that's
life. A
a
full
full
life.
a full life,
Yeah.
and connecting with amazing people. I know in your communities, and we have the to connect with each other, and the
Mhm.
amazing people you bring on your podcast that you're doing in your work and through your books, like that's what life is. If you're listening to this, you're someone who cares about learning and growing, and also having fun in your life, and life is there to be lived. So enjoy it and remind yourself of that the enjoyment part, because yeah, I certainly don't want to
Mm.
live a life of regret. Sure, we might regret some stuff. None of us are perfect, right? We're not robots.
Mhm.
We're not,
No.
we probably will
No.
get to the end of our lives and go, oof, gee, like I regret,
Mm.
I did something last year that I regret, sorry, not last year, the year before.
Yeah.
But it wasn't catastrophic. It wasn't that.
Mhm.
Would I do it again? No. Did I make the right decision? Did I make the right decision? No. But as I learned from you, no such
Mm.
thing as a right or wrong decision. It was a
Mm.
decision at the time. And,
Mhm.
do I regret it? Well, yes, but, it is what it is. And I learned from
Mhm.
that. I thought, gee, if I'm faced with that again, or if I'm assessing it the way I would, I'm going to do it differently next time. And
Mm.
that's the learning curve. So, we're not going to have zero regrets, but we just want to make sure that, they're minimal.
Mm.
I think, which is a real key to a happy life as well.
Enjoying it. Oh my gosh. Alison, thank you. What a joy having you here. Tell people where to follow you, get your book, your resources, all the things.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's been so wonderful, and I definitely think we should get a trip to Dallas in. So
I know.
just, if everyone listening's out, I've got to go and
I
watch this.
know. I know.
You do, because these women
Mm.
are phenomenal. But where you can find me, so AlisonShamir.com and Alison Shamir across all of the social forums. I'm easy to find. And you can also head to conqueryourimposter.com to read about the book and my coaching work and those specifics. But I'm very easy to find. Please come connect, come say hi. And the book is available across all of the forums, from print to Kindle to audio, with Amazon Audio about to be released. So and if you've heard this or you'd like to connect, please come say hi, because I welcome it and I would love to hear from you. And thank you, Susie, because final thing I want to say is, meeting you or coming in contact with your work and then meeting you across 2019 and 2020 was a game changer for me. So as much as I know the term can be overused, what a full circle moment this is
I know. I
for, for,
love it.
for me. So, if you're listening to this, I just think it's just been so beautiful in so many ways. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Alison. And to be clear, Shamir, Shamir. So,
Correct.
Alison Shamir, my friend, I hope you'll come back. I could continue this conversation, talk about Hollywood, talk about all the things. So much keeps coming to mind as we're talking. But thank you, truly. And my friends, until tomorrow, so much love and ease.